Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's National Pie Day, Tony. What's your favorite pie?
I'm Tony Kornheiser, the one named after me, Cutie Pie. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you did. At least you didn't say pumpkin pie. It's just boring.
I hate pumpkin pie. I hate pumpkin. I hate pumpkin pie.
Sweet potato pie.
I could have said pizza pie, which is how it is referred to in some places. Pizza pie.
Yeah, not where I grew up. Not pizza pie. That's a New York thing. Is that a New York thing? Pizza pie.
The pizza where you grew up. The pizza where you grew up. That deep dish stuff. Get it out of here.
We don't eat that.
Pizza.
You don't know anything about the Midwest. Stop it. We don't eat that. I never eat.
Welcome to PTI,
dish.
boys and
Thin
girls.
crust.
In today's episode, Joel Embiid scores 70. The coach of the Timberwolves is upset, and Jeff Saturday joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with the Milwaukee Bucks firing head coach Adrian Griffin a little more than halfway through his first season. The Bucks are 30-13. They're in second place in the East, but they've struggled defensively. Multiple reports have Doc Rivers as the leading candidate for this opening. Wilbon, what do you make of this? Did Griffin get enough of a chance?
Man, Tony, it's a tough situation because they changed the team over and they made this one particular move that you know in real time in the summer. I remember calling you up saying this is insane to get rid of Drew Holiday. I love Dame Lillard, love him. But Drew Holiday, he anchored your defense as much as Giannis or as much as Brook Lopez. And they got rid of him. And they want to maintain a great defense, which, by the way, in the month of January was 27th, I'm told, in the league. 27th. So Adrian Griffin didn't have a chance there. Terry Stotts, who was hired to be an assistant coach, has been a head coach and a successful one for a long time. He lasted until like Labor Day. And then Terry was gone. So now you don't have that savvy veteran on the bench with your rookie head coach, which Adrian Griffin was. There were problems at the start, Tony. And now it's interesting because our dear friend Doc Rivers is mentioned. A year or so ago, I'm sitting in that arena in Milwaukee, and I look up, and Doc Rivers' jersey's in the rafters. Yes, like Larry Bird in Boston Garden, because Doc led Marquette. Doc's been a trustee at Marquette. Doc's a big deal in Milwaukee. I can see why they would want him. Right. And I was like, Doc, you got a coach here at one point. You're in the rafters already. I was joking. Maybe it's not a joke. I don't know whether it's the right move. It's a risky move and a bold one.
Let's look at the numbers for a second. Let's repeat the numbers. They are 30-13 right now. They are in second place in the Eastern Conference. They have the third best record overall. And you go to this guy and they go, you fired? Really? There's only one conclusion, Mike. Only one. That Giannis Antetokounmpo and maybe Damian Lillard said, get rid of this guy. This has happened before. Magic Johnson, your good friend, said, get rid of Paul Westhead. It was a year and change after a championship. They were 54-28 and then 7-4. And Magic Johnson said, get him out of here. LeBron James, David Blatt, get him out of here. And they were 30-11. I don't understand why they fired Budenholzer when they did, because they were 58-24. You know what they need in Milwaukee? They need an owner like Jerry Jones, because he doesn't actually fire people. And in terms of Doc, he just traded Embiid for Antetokounmpo. He traded no rings for one ring, and he can always go back in the booth.
If he goes, Tony, let me mention this real quickly. If he goes, still a big if. But, Tony, they did this to appease Giannis. Giannis is not a get somebody out of here guy. But if you listen to his comments, post-game comments in recent weeks, you looked at this and said, wow, man. And I know you did because we talked about it.
Yeah.
We talked about it.
He has said everything but get rid of this guy.
To salvage this season, Tony,
that it wasn't working.
They can't beat Boston. They can't. They probably can't beat Philadelphia at this point. They can't beat Indiana, for God's sake. All right.
Let's stay with the NBA. Your boy Joel Embiid scored 70 points last night as the 76ers beat the Spurs 133-123. The 70 points are the most ever for the Sixers franchise. Embiid becomes the 9th NBA player ever to score 70 or more and the 3rd center alongside Wilt Chamberlain and David Robinson. Embiid got his 70 in just 37 minutes. Embiid called this, quote, a great night. Wilbon, what would you call it?
It was a great night. It was a great night. I mean, you can have great nights in the regular season that are special nights. Anytime you mention those two centers, Tony. But when your name is up there among the people who have scored 70, and it also has Wilt's name like 6 times, it's a great night and a special night. It is. It doesn't mean anything for April, May, and June, which is what ultimately Joel Embiid is going to be judged by, just like every great player in the NBA. You're judged by what you do in the postseason, and that's fair. But this was great. I said yesterday on this fine program I wasn't even going to watch that game. And then at some point, Matthew says to me, Dad, Embiid's got 52 at the end of 3. And I go, give me the clicker. I got to watch that.
Yeah.
And it was worth watching, Tony. It was fun. It was a great night. No more, no less. You put your name up there with Wilt. That's a pretty good night. You know that. Wilt is one of your all-time faves.
Yeah, I'm going to get to Wilt right now. I'm going to get this off my chest right now. I understand that technically, this is the most points ever scored by the Philadelphia 76ers franchise. But let's not pretend that people haven't seen one of the great sports photographs of all time, which is Wilt Chamberlain holding up a white piece of paper with the number 100 on it, wearing a Philadelphia jersey. Phila. Now, I understand they were the Warriors, and I understand they moved and they went to San Francisco. But Wilt Chamberlain went over 70 or more 3 times in Philadelphia, including 100, which is 30 more than Embiid. All right, I want to get to something else. I want to get to your mistake in saying, I don't want to watch this game because Embiid and Wembanyama aren't going to be out there together too much. I'm going to watch the Bulls. I watch the Bulls, who lost.
That was a great game.
So how does that taste? I'm going to tell you this one thing, Mike. I believe that Embiid was very aware that he was playing against Wembanyama for the first time, and he wanted to welcome him to the NBA. I'm not saying he thought he would get 70, but when he got 70, he basically said, "Hi, kid. Let me know when you can do that." Okay, and it was a great. And I'm critical of Embiid all the time. Not now.
Yes.
Not now.
Yeah. But Embiid was gracious, Tony, afterward. He's been gracious every night this season, and people get upset with him for being that way. No, stop. Embiid is great for basketball and great for sport. It is no other opinion that matters. For a while, it seemed like Embiid might not be the only dude getting to 70 last night. Karl-Anthony Towns had 44 by halftime in Minnesota, but struggled late, finished with 62. The Timberwolves blew an 18-point lead and lost at home to the Hornets, leading to pointed post-game comments from T-Wolves coach Chris Finch.
It was an absolute disgusting performance of defense and immature basketball. We totally disrespected the game ourselves, and we got exactly what we deserved.
Tony, what do you hear Finch saying here?
I hear him echoing Herm Edwards. I hear him asking, why do we play the game? And I hear him saying, we play to win the game. And I hear him saying to Karl-Anthony Towns, are you happy now? You got 62 points. You got more points than anybody who's ever worn a Timberwolves jersey. You're in the record books. Are you happy? Does this work? Because we just lost to a team that was 9-31 and playing on the road. We just lost to a team that had lost 7 out of 8 and 16 of 18. We just lost to a team where we had an 18-point lead with less than a minute to go in the third quarter. You know, so is everybody happy? Is Karl-Anthony Towns happy? And Mike, this is risky. I agree 100% with the coach, but I don't know how Karl-Anthony Towns is going to hear this, because I think it was mostly aimed at him. I don't know if this is going to cause a big divide. I don't know if it's going to hurt that relationship.
So that's a great and fair and necessary point to make. But Finch also knows that team. And you know, every year I would talk about the T-Wolves majoring in dumb. And it stopped being dumb and it was knuckleheadedness. And it stopped being knuckleheadedness mostly because Anthony Edwards became the best player on that team. And Karl-Anthony Towns seemed happy to follow him. And they are better. They've been the best team in the West, the best conference all season. This was a step back, and Finch doesn't want to see that, Tony. He doesn't want to see this team. They're not going to be a threat if they go back to majoring in dumb to Denver. They're not going to be a threat to even Oklahoma City if they go back to majoring in dumb. And Finch is saying, no, no, no. We can't go back to this. And then to what you said, this is what you guys want to see? It was largely aimed at Karl Anthony Towns, but not entirely. But Anthony Edwards is not going to let that happen.
He was 2 for 10 in the fourth quarter. They squandered a lead. And he's a smart guy. I don't know how sensitive he is, but if he's real sensitive, this could cause a problem down the road. Let's take a break. Coming up, family members of Cowboys players are beefing on social media. What? We're going to ask Jeff Saturday about that.
Speaking of problems down the road, we'll also ask him what he thinks should happen when an offensive player fumbles through the end zone. Tony, Anthony Edwards is going to make the difference. He's the best player now, and Cat has to follow him. I don't think it'll be a big rip. I don't.
Pardon the Interruption is presented by Grey Goose. You are watching Pardon the Interruption, presented by Grey Goose, part of Happy Hour.
Let's dig into the NFL with our great friend, ESPN NFL analyst Jeff Saturday. Let's start with this, Jeff. C.D. Lamb's mother, and I'm going slowly because this is remarkable to me. C.D. Lamb's mother and Dak Prescott's brother got into it on social media, and Micah Parsons' brother also weighed in as a player. How do you deal with family members who are speaking out and maybe causing things to get gummed up?
Oh, the drama. Wait, wasn't it Dynasty, Dallas, like all the shows that I grew up watching, like that you couldn't DVR, that you had to wait the next week, who shot JR, the whole deal. Like, this is where we are in Dallas again. Like, the drama, the intensity. Listen, this is a big deal, a much bigger deal than most people want to make it. It's tough enough to win. And you're under a microscope, an enormous microscope, especially in Dallas. When everything's aligned, it's difficult to win. Now you bring in this nonsense, it is difficult to get over. They need to come in. Everybody needs to have a hug it out session, air the grievances, whatever it is, and move on. Because this stuff festers in locker rooms. It can be a tough thing to overcome when you hit a tough skid during the season.
Man, just imagine the simplicity of overcoming an opponent compared to this craziness. Jeff, I want to ask you about something Josh Allen said. He talked about the not being particularly worried, at least not yet, that the Bills' title window has closed. He's not worried. And title window talk to me is media conversation only. I've been in a lot of locker rooms. I didn't hear players talking about that. Am I wrong about that? Is that maybe it has evolved to that? Do players actually consider the window of opportunity that may be closing?
Absolutely not. Players never you are 100% right. The media, they create this thing, they see it. But let me help you. Josh Allen is the window. So, like, until he leaves, that window ain't closed because he's a dude. Like, you can critique him. You can say he turns it over, he does these things. But guess what? They win a lot of games. They've won a lot of AFC East championships, which means they're going to be in the playoff and they're going to be in the hunt. So, ain't any window closing until that dude packs it up and leaves Buffalo.
We got one sort of strategic, or no, it'd be a rule question we want to run past you. Mecole Hardman's fumble, of course, through the end zone renewed the debate over whether there should be a touchback in those situations. And we hear now that owners plan to review it. I personally just want the ball to come back to the offense like it was knocked out of bounds any other play. Where do you stand on this, Jeff?
Oh, I am 100% in agreement with you. It's the craziest to me. And Dominique Foxworth and I argue about this because he's defense, and I get it. But this whole idea that nobody controls it because it goes out a foot further in the end zone, that we're going to give it to the other team and take it out 25 yards. No, I'm with you. Unless there is full control, that ball should go back to the offense. Call it like it is. It rolled out of bounds wherever he last had control over it. Spot the ball there. I am with you. I think it's a crazy rule that has gone on way too long, and it definitely needs to change.
I'll just mention this, that as a result of that rule, that canceled out the terrible call on the fake punt that Buffalo had done earlier. So they started even. Let's get out of here on this. We have great games this weekend. We have the Lions at the 49ers. We got the Chiefs at the Ravens. Now, it's only Tuesday, but where are you leaning now in these games?
Oh, that's a great question. So, obviously as the week goes on, you're going to see injuries with Deebo Samuel. I would say NFC-wise, I'm probably leaning a little bit more towards the Lions at this point, especially if Samuel cannot play. And I think the matchups, like the 49ers, their front has got to get some pressure. And I know Decker and Penei Sewell on the edges of the Lions are going to be a key matchup against Bosa out there. So there's a lot going on in that world, right, from me. So I'm going to lean that way. And the AFC, I think it's the Ravens. And listen, this has been arguably the best team in the NFL all season. I don't see that changing. Patrick Mahomes is an absolute stud, and you never you take the Chiefs out of it. But if the Ravens play to their level, I don't think that the Chiefs can match that. If they play to the level that the Ravens can, they're the best team that's going to play. So for me, that's my lean right now.
All right, I will point out again, it's Tuesday. We'll call you Sunday morning, see if the lean is the same. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Let's take one last break. Still to come. The Heat trade away Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, big deal, big deal. Coco Gauff survives one challenge and now faces another in the semis of the Australian Open. Tony, Jeff and I can see the Brooklyn Bridge. We are right underneath the Brooklyn Bridge. You're Mr. New York. You're not close to us where you can see the Brooklyn Bridge.
I can't right now.
Pardon the Interruption is presented by Grey Goose. Vive la vodka. Please sip responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Happy time, people. Happy 34th birthday, Levante David. The Tampa Bay linebacker is out of the playoffs now, but he had a stellar game against the Lions. He had 13 tackles, including 9 solo tackles, and a sack of Jared Goff. This season, David had 134 tackles, 17 tackles for a loss, and 4.5 sacks in 15 games. He's the only player in the NFL this season with at least 130 tackles, 4 sacks, and 15 tackles for a loss. David is one of only 9 players since 1999 to total at least 130 total tackles and 15 tackles for loss in one season, and he's done that 4 times. David is second in the NFL in tackles since entering the league in 2012 out of Nebraska as a second-round pick by Tampa Bay.
Yeah, despite all that, great linebackers used to be football celebrities, football royalty. That's not the case anymore. I don't know this guy. I wouldn't know him if he had just his face and no helmet on, no jersey. I wouldn't know him. Fred Warner's another one. They're great linebackers, but they're not celebrated as great linebackers. We just celebrate quarterbacks. That's all we care about anymore in this culture.
Happy anniversary, Buffalo Bills. On this day 30 years ago, the Bills pounded the Chiefs 30-13 in Orchard Park to win their 4th straight AFC championship. It wasn't Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes then. It was even better. It was Jim Kelly for Buffalo and Joe Montana starting for Kansas City, where he went after the 49ers. The Bills remain the only team to play in 4 consecutive Super Bowls. They lost all 4, which is why they're always referred to as long-suffering. The Patriots played in 3 consecutive Super Bowls, 2016, 2017, 2018. They went to 8 straight AFC championship games from 2011 to 2018. Kansas City now in its 6th straight AFC title game.
Well, the Miami Dolphins, the great Dolphins teams in the 70s, they went to 3 consecutive Super Bowls. Not 4, but they did go to 3. And that clip with Thurman Thomas, always great to me. I ran into Thurman Thomas in Dublin at a football game, Tony. How about that? You wouldn't think, I don't mean Dublin, Ohio either. I mean Ireland.
I love the way you drop names on this show.
You like that one? That was smooth.
Happy trails to the Heat for Kyle Lowry. Miami traded their veteran guard and a future first-rounder to the Charlotte Hornets for Terry Rozier. Rozier is averaging 23 points a game. Lowry was averaging 8. Rozier has higher assist and rebound numbers, and he's 8 years younger than Lowry. Wilbon, this seems like a steal for Miami. What am I missing here?
Well, they must care about the draft pick they got, a first-rounder. But, Tony, you put Terry Rozier in that lineup. Here comes Miami. I mean, when you got Bam playing like he's been playing and Jimmy Butler going into playoff Jimmy mode, I mean, Come on now. Miami's a bigger threat with him now than they were a minute ago.
Omissions. The Titans are reportedly hiring Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan as their head coach. Bears hired Shane Waldron as their offensive coordinator. I'd love to hear you talk, but we got to move to the big finish very quickly.
Let's do it.
If we can. Coco Gauff struggled, but advanced to the Aussie Open semis. Your thoughts?
She's now going to face Sabalenka, whom Coco beat to win the U.S. Open. Good rematch there. The Eagles are reportedly parting ways with offensive coordinator Brian Johnson. What does that mean, Tom?
I think it means Sirianni is staying, or they'd have announced that. The NBA suspended Tristan Thompson of the Cavs for 25 games for failing a banned substance test. Your reaction?
Maybe it's just time to have the microphone, Tristan. You're getting pretty darn good at that. Baseball Hall of Fame inductees in minutes. Who's getting in, Tony?
Adrian Beltre and Joe Mauer, I'd put in. Last one.
Man, Gary Sheffield.
LeBron is out for Lakers-Clippers tonight. You're disappointed, aren't you?
Very, Tony. The Lakers are still playing around in the play-in, play-out spot. They got to be careful. They got to win some games. That's a big loss.
We're out of time. We will try and do better the next time. And I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. Kyle Lowry, Tony, won a championship for Toronto, has had quite a career.
Yeah.
Good for him. Your sports.
All right, Wilbon. Did the Bucks make the right decision to fire Adrian Griffin?
Tony, this is entirely result-based. Entirely, 100%. If the Bucks just sort of fail, they've got, the second-best record in the East behind the Boston Celtics today. If they fail and they get bounced out early in the playoffs in the first round or even the second round, they don't get to the conference finals, it's going to look like a failure no matter who they bring in. If the Bucks go on and they somehow get at least to the conference finals, they give a tough 6 or 7 game series to Boston, who would be a favorite, or they beat them and they get back to the finals with Giannis Antetokounmpo, then it's not failed. Then it will have been the right decision because they will have done it early enough before the All-Star break to give the new coach, whoever he is, a chance to sort of right the ship, improve the defense, improve morale, get Giannis back on board and excited again. There's a chance to do all that, but it's entirely result-based.
It's an interesting question. Is it the right decision? They are 30-13, and they're firing this guy at 30-13, which indicates to me it's not a question of a right decision or a wrong decision. It's the only decision they could make. And I will tell you that I believe it's to appease Giannis Antetokounmpo and maybe Damian Lillard as well, because this is the NBA, where stars have much more power than in any other sport. And if stars are unhappy, Mike, they say, I'm not playing here anymore.
Right.
We've seen
That's
this.
right.
Your great friend, Magic Johnson, said to the Lakers, get rid of Paul Weston. Get him out of here. Even though they had won a championship a couple of years before, and they were 54-28 the year before, and then 7-4. LeBron James said, get rid of David Blatt. They were 30-11 when he said that, and he said, get him out of here. So I'm not certain that you can even go right or wrong. I think it's the only move they had.
Tony,
they must have become aware that Giannis could not play for this guy. Didn't like it.
Well,
right?
Tony, I don't know about could not, but I agree with you about 90% there. It became a necessary move. One, because the team, which had its championship identity, was tied to defense. The month of January, they've been, it's not over yet, 27th in defense in a 30-team league. So that wasn't working. I would say this on Adrian Griffin's behalf, though. I'm sorry. He didn't trade Drew Holiday, the most important defensive player in the lineup, including Giannis. Adrian Griffin didn't do that. Management did that. Right. So management gave him a flawed roster. How are you going to base your identity on defense and you get rid of your best defensive player and, oh, wait, he winds up with your rival, the Celtics? So management failed him. Now, has he done a great job? I don't know that I want to make that argument, but Tony, you read about Giannis. Giannis been very critical lately publicly of the team, of the defense, those kinds of things.
It undercut the coach.
Once you
every time he spoke out, Mike, every time he spoke out, it undercuts the coach. So you could see this. Yeah, okay.
Tony, you could see it coming. I didn't think Milwaukee had the stones to do it right now, but wow, they did. That's it. We're done. Back to you.